Well, hello and welcome to another edition of As Above, So Below. And I'm delighted that we've got Amy Bird in the studio once again for this chat. How are you, Amy?
I'm very well, thanks.
Looking very well there. It's nice to see your face again. We haven't done this for a few months, but Amy sent me a message earlier today or yesterday just asking if I felt like we needed to do another one of these, and she's obviously feeling some strong energies. Certainly in my life, I've noticed a lot of people who have been very sensitive to the planets and the stars in recent weeks, and certainly the politics of the world, which we won't dwell upon, are also having a big impact on people's lives. And I'm sure there's a connection between all of these. Amy, am I correct or not?
Absolutely. As above, so below, as within, so without. It's all connected.
Yes. But no, well, thank you, Amy, as always, for being here and offering your incredible perspective on things and your wisdom of astrology. So, firstly, what is happening right now? Why are we feeling so sensitive to all that's happening in the world and in the sky?
Okay. Just at this moment, we're in the middle of two eclipses. And the first one was on the 14th, and the next one's going to be on the 29th. So that's this Saturday.
Okay.
And not only that, we've also had the spring equinox in the middle of all of that. And it's not often that a spring equinox happens to fall in the middle of eclipse season. But what's really unique about this particular eclipse season is that we also have Neptune in the very, very, very final degree of Pisces in its own sign. So this is the last degree of the entire zodiac. So this very much feels like a time of endings, of completion, almost like a karmic cycle's ending. And so I think eclipses anyway are a time of a new chapter,
Yeah.
where there's an ending and a beginning. And the last one on the 14th was more of a kind of a culmination time, and it was more of a feeling of what are we letting go of. It was the Virgo full moon, and that's the Virgo Pisces axis. And there was a sense of yeah, what do we need to release, what do we need to let go of?
Mhm.
And it's not easy to let go sometimes, but that it does feel with Neptune in the final degree of Pisces that we are having, it is like it's time, something is ending. What is it in your life, my life, that just needs to go in
Yeah.
order for this new phase to start? And then we've got the Aries new moon occurring,
Yeah.
and that's a kind of that's a solar eclipse. And this is more of a, okay, there's a new beginning coming. And not only that, it's in Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac. It's like bold, it's brave, it's new growth, it's independence. It's like, that really courageous. I always think with Aries, it's like the shoot coming out of the ground after the long, hard winter. And how brave is that,
Mhm.
just heading to the
Yeah.
light. And so I think that just at this particular moment, though, we're still very much in the phase of letting go. But
Yeah.
there's an awareness that there's something new coming in, but we're all a bit like the shoot coming out of the ground. We're all a bit blind to what that is at the moment. So it's almost like we're being called to really emulate with the North Node being in Pisces as well, which is what these eclipses are all about. It's calling for us to just have faith and trust and surrender and let go and just go with the flow and really, really know what going with the flow means. I've heard a few
Yeah.
people say this in recent times, oh, this go with the flow thing, like it's a saying, isn't it? It's a catchphrase. But what
Yeah.
does it mean to really actually do that? And
Yeah.
so there's more to it, but that's I feel like I'll let you have a little see what you think about it if you're
Well, it's
feeling it.
funny. I mean, every time I speak with you, you're always totally on point, and I know you're just reading the astrology, but also, I mean, I watch all these amazing astrologers out there, and I have nothing but respect. And I really have started to use it as a map in my life, um, because it sometimes, when you're having that really tough day and you find out or afterwards, it's almost better to know before, so you can understand those feelings that start to emanate, or why everyone in the office is losing the plot, or why people are starting to scream and shout at you at the bus station or the train station, or you see things happening and you're like, but to know it in advance helps you to have an awareness and to breathe and to kind of not to expect it, because I don't think it dictates to us, does it? But to just to accept that there's a deeper and bigger reason for the things that happen in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think I've ever felt like this. I feel like the last week, I don't want to dwell on what's already gone, but I do feel like the last week, last 10 days have been a really different feeling and energy to anything I've experienced in my life. And I get the feeling just from, I don't watch much of the news, but just from watching what's going on around the world, whether it's earthquakes or volcanoes or fires or floods, or just complete chaos in a lot of countries, and uprisings of people against governments, and that you get the feeling that it's not just you and I who are feeling this, Amy.
No. It's definitely going around. And Neptune also has a dissolving feel to it as well. Like it's dissolution.
Yes.
That's another
Yeah.
part of this, what is being dissolved at the same time. I mean, there is a lot going on outside of this, the eclipses,
Yeah.
and Neptune. Obviously, the Neptune energy is it just feels to me like it's really important, and it literally goes into Aries, the sign of war. But
Mm.
amongst other things, obviously, Aries is also the sign of of identity, of who am I. And so what happens when Neptune, the planet of, that dissolves the sense of life, that could be interesting. But anyway, it goes into Aries literally the day after the eclipse. So it goes in on the 30th.
Wow.
So this
Yeah.
next eclipse is literally, Neptune is in the last moment of the last degree of Pisces. So
And that's
it
a
just
really powerful time, right? That's a very powerful time, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it just feels like so it's like a culmination. It feels like a real sense of completion. And like I said, we're being called to let go. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, we also have 2 retrogrades. So that's adding to the soup, the picture here.
What's
We've
that?
got
Mercury? Yeah.
Mercury and Venus. Yeah.
Right.
And they're
So
both
what does Venus in retrograde, what does that translate as in astrological terms? What does that, is that about going over things that are connected with our hearts, going a bit deeper on these things? Is that a fair reflection of that?
Yeah, it's interesting you use the words reflection because it is a time of reflection. If you think retrograde,
Yeah.
then it's reflect, review, go back
Yeah.
over, maybe let go of old patterns that aren't working for us,
Mm.
and really have a look at some relationships will end or have already ended. And that would be kind of tying in as well, right, with the fact that this is like the end of a karmic cycle. So I
Yeah.
guess if you're the end of a karmic road with someone, or there could be a time, it could actually be a good time for actually completing things. You know how sometimes
Yeah.
things get left unfinished in relationships, or you part ways and it's angry and you don't see each other again. And it's almost like, okay, do I
Yeah.
have to pick this up in the next lifetime? Do we
So we should all
maybe
call our ex boyfriends and girlfriends, right? And pick up the phone and call them.
if there's unresolved business?
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Just checking. Just checking.
No, but I mean,
Oh,
there is wisdom to that if there's unresolved
right.
business. That
Except at
could
2 o'clock in the morning after a big night out. Yeah. Yeah. I uh, I hear you. But it's interesting. So, but actually, what you're saying here is, and it's a bit scary. So, we're talking about who am I and the dissolving of that. It feels like that scene in Back to the Future where Marty McFly looks at the photograph and he sees himself disappearing because he's gone back in time, and his mum's relationships changed with his dad. No, but
yeah,
really, it's an opportunity for us to become a better version of ourselves, right?
Definitely,
Yeah.
it all is. And there's something as well to the kind of, there's a dissolving of illusions as well.
Right.
I wrote down somewhere. Oh yeah, Venus and Mercury are currently in Aries, both of them, right?
Okay.
And then they're going to go back into Pisces. Venus is going back into Pisces on Wednesday, and Mercury is going back into Pisces on Friday, on the day of the new moon. So
Okay.
there's going to be Neptune, Venus, Mercury, and the North Node all in Pisces together on this new moon. And so it's like, what illusions are we holding on to? What fantasies? What are we projecting out onto our relationships, for instance, and onto life that need to actually maybe be dissolved? Like, that process of disillusionment is actually an important part of the process, really, I suppose. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, I guess, is what I'm saying.
No. Yeah. Is it an opportunity to make dreams become a reality, in the sense that Pisces is a bit more ethereal, and Aries is action and physical reality?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fact that they're all combining in the same moon does feel a bit like that. And actually, you say that, that was another thing I remember about the new moon, is Saturn in Pisces, which is turning dreams into reality, because Saturn is concrete reality in Pisces, the planet, the sign of the dream and our
Yeah.
fantasy, and our ideals. It's actually
Wow.
forming a really nice trine to Mars, which is the ruler of Aries and the action planet. So there is a sense that we can actually do something. We can actually, there is a chance to actually make things happen here. That
Wow.
something concrete could happen, with our will and our
Yeah.
intention. And of course, new moons are really important and good times to set intentions.
Yeah.
Um, but I wonder whether it's better. I always wonder whether it's better, like the conversations that just come up naturally
Yeah.
around a new moon often speak to our true intentions, rather than us trying to figure it out in our
So
head.
it's a decision of the heart as opposed to the mind, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and just so we're clear, when exactly is this eclipse happening, or this partial?
The
It's a partial solar eclipse, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new moon, I'm not sure when the actual eclipse, it will be happening around that time, but the new moon is 11:58, 11:59
On the
a.m. UK time.
29th of March, UK. Right.
Exactly.
So 12:59
Yeah,
for those in Europe, and in those in America, quite early in the morning on the 29th, very early in the morning on the 29th of March. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
And and it's always good to kind of contemplate what you're letting go in the
yeah.
dark of the moon beforehand, and then contemplate what you want to bring in after the new moon, when you're in the new moon
Mm,
cycle. Because
okay.
beforehand, it's the dark of the moon, and it's like, that's the letting go, that's the releasing, that's the sleepy time. And then in Aries, it's like full steam ahead, full charge ahead, isn't it? It's like action and bravery and courage and enthusiasm.
Wow.
So yeah, it
Wow.
it just feels like such a special time, but not necessarily easy either. And this
No.
last new full moon did involve a Uranus was part of it, and I think there have been some curveballs. You know, there have been some,
Yeah.
like, things that have come from left field for people that are like, okay, I didn't see that one coming. And but what
Yeah.
needs to pass away at this time? What needs to fall away?
Wow.
And what do we need to release and let go of, and fully let go of? It's an interesting combination, basically, between completion and initiation. So we got one thing ending, but then we're initiating too. It's like a big new beginning. But
Yeah, but
without,
it's perfect, right? It's just the end of a chapter or the end of a book, and then this is a brand new book. And but I think a lot of people find that scary. I know you're not trying to scare people, but I think that's why a lot of people sometimes ignore the astrology, because it's a bit like, don't want to know, don't want to see it, don't want to see it, don't tell me it's going to be. But I mean, I certainly my the way I justify astrology, and have the courage to have the readings from you, and watch the videos, is by just just knowing that this is the truth that we're stepping into, and that it's not good or bad. It's just an energy and a guide to help us through it. And if you know what area of your life is affected, then you can kind of step that up. Um, and Yeah, and it isn't always bad. And it's a tough time, though, isn't it? I think the energy, a lot of people have been struggling a bit with this energy that's going on at the moment, which seems to
generally, yeah,
translate through politics and all the things that make us angry, and bosses and family members, and relationships that are going a bit sour.
yeah.
Yeah,
And there is also the whole Pisces Neptune theme of overwhelm and
yeah,
oversensitivity and just feeling the feelings, but that's hard sometimes when you're going through a lot. And
yeah,
then we also, and this is exact on Wednesday, this Wednesday, we do have the third and final Chiron Mars square that we've already had. It was October the 13th, February the 3rd, and now it's going to be this Wednesday. And it's been building all over the weekend, and
yeah.
it's getting stronger. And Chiron, I mean, this is like deep emotional triggers. Mars is in Cancer, which is the sign of our childhood. And Mars is the planet that can get angry. And so it's like, are our childhood wounds being kind of activated? There can be
Wow.
feelings of deep frustration, passive aggressiveness, people like prodding our sore spots, the wounded part of ourselves. So that's all part of this soup as well. And
Mm,
there can be old memories coming up as well with Mercury retrograde, and is that bringing up anger or shame,
mm.
or all sorts of things can come from that. I had a good moment the other day where suddenly, like, I had this visceral memory of me in my 20s, and I was like, it was not
Wow.
particularly, it was like, oof, like
Yeah.
revisiting the 20-year-old self who was looking for love in all the
Wow.
wrong places.
It
So
does feel like a time. I mean, I've had some crazy dreams in the last 10 days or so, and I'm actually speaking. My ancestors are coming. I'm always in this room, and then my ancestors come through a door on my left in the dream, and it's a green light, and they walk through it, and then they speak to me. But because I'm dreaming, I'm in my sleep in this moment. Actually, what's happening is I forget they're dead. So it's people that I've known in my family, and sometimes not. But in the dream, I can't see that. I mean, probably because they're not dead, right? Everyone's still alive. We all live forever. But in the dream, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh, I wish I'd just asked this question. But because
mm,
I'm in a different dimension, and I'm actually speaking to them where I can speak to them, and I don't even understand death or life. I end up having a very normal conversation with them, which is normal for a dream, not normal for reality. But it's happening every night. I thought different people are coming through this portal or whatever it is and speaking to me in my dreams. And Neptune's a bit of a dreamer, so I'm guessing Neptune's playing a bit of a role. Maybe it's the final moments in Pisces.
yeah, I think it's probably a mixture, because I think that things can really open up between eclipses as well. So it's probably a very
Uh,
big mixture between the energies of both. And that's why I feel that this is such an important, powerful, powerful time. I mean, how often do you have an eclipse with Neptune in the very last degree of Pisces? That's never, I mean, I'm sure
I
it's
was,
not going to happen at some point in the future, but it's going to be a long, 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 long way away.
yeah,
And it's
is that right? That it never in history has this astrology, this makeup been recorded?
I can't
Uh,
imagine it has. It's very unique.
that's just incredible, right? That's Mine, but I know it's 160 years since Neptune was in Aries, right? And the last time was that we talking? Is that American and French Revolution time? Is that
Yeah, it was the
something like that?
American Civil War. Literally, the year
Mm.
it started was the American Civil War started the
And
same
now we're
year.
stepping into, yeah, obviously Aries, which is one of the signatures of Aries is war. But war can mean many things, right? It isn't necessarily physical combat, is it? I mean, I know there's
Yeah.
wars going on all over the world, which is not
Mm.
easy to digest. But
Yeah, we could have a new kind of leader. I mean, Aries
yeah,
is the pioneer, it's the trailblazer, and Neptune is the planet that connects us to the divine, you know, and it's also collective conscious, unconscious. It's like what connects us all, that feeling of unity. When I describe Neptune, I always kind of like to talk about how it's that part of us that when we're at a concert and we're all singing the same song together, that feeling of unity when we're all one, you know,
yeah,
so
that's an,
beautiful.
yeah,
So who knows, we could get some kind of interesting, more spiritual leaders coming in, more empathetic, more compassionate. Let's hope.
yeah. Well, I think that is going to come. It's just a question of how. It's not going to be immediate, and in some ways, for that to happen, you feel like there needs to be a moment where people say, "Oh, we're not taking this anymore." And I know those moments are happening in different countries, in Serbia, in the US. I know some people are kind of saying we're not going to tolerate this anymore. But in some ways, it feels like, I mean, the energy that I've been sensing recently is a bit like that energy before COVID, bizarrely. You know, when something was coming down the track, but you didn't really know or understand what it was, and then it happened. And I don't think that something like COVID is going to happen now, but it was stepping into the unknown and not knowing what was coming next. And this has never happened before. And look how, whilst a lot of leaders didn't listen to that at the time, I'd imagine the universe is saying, hold on, you've got to start listening now. We're going to do something even more maverick, even bigger. But
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, with Pluto in Aquarius as well, there is this sense of um, hierarchical structures maybe
Hmm.
being destroyed because
Yeah.
not destroyed, that sounds like really harsh, but
Yeah.
maybe a new system coming in that maybe isn't about the hierarchy, it's more about a kind of
People.
horizontal structure and more about maybe, you know, if local communities were more had more power and you
Yeah.
just if everybody governed on a smaller scale instead of
Yeah.
having one big one, then that
Yeah.
could make a big difference. People would feel more empowered and more involved. And
Yeah.
yeah, who knows? Who knows? I think there's a lot coming down the line. And yeah, and that is the sense that a few people have been saying exactly what you said. There's this sense that we don't know what's happening, what's coming next.
Mm.
But at the moment, all I feel for this week, what we need to focus on is what we're letting go of and just releasing and actually just surrender in some ways.
Yeah.
Let go,
Oh,
trust the unseen, trust the unknown, because we don't know what's around the corner. But what we're being called to do is to just to trust in what's coming next. And synchronicities is another part of it. Really recognizing the synchronicities that come up, you know, that
yeah.
they're coming hard and fast as well in terms of, you know, so just being open to that, open to the signs. And yeah, but I
So
think
live in
we
the
are
moment, really, Amy. Right? Just living in the moment, because that's when
yeah,
you see the synchronicities coming. Because I think they actually happen in every second of our lives, whether it's we're walking in a shop and the song's playing, or but often we don't, or a blackbird lands in the tree in front of us, or a swallow dies, but we don't see it because we're too busy listening to our phones or YouTube videos by Amy Bird or whatever it is. You know, people often they're so fixated by what's going on their phone in front of them, that they don't actually see the signs that are just constantly being put in front of us by the universe.
Yeah, I feel like I have been noticing them more this week, like a magpie
Okay.
landing to me, or a crow sitting up there, or a person that's just walked past me, and I just think, ooh, there's something about them that I feel like I'm supposed to know them, or something like that. There's a
Wow.
reason that
Yeah.
this awareness. There's that who knows, that person walking past me could have something for me. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Not every
Yeah.
person that passes by, but there are some people, But yeah, I think there is an opportunity here, I think, to let go of kind of, with the Venus retrograde, to kind of let go of old relational patterns and old karmic entanglements as well. I think that's part of the story here.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and just practice the art of allowing acceptance. That's been a word that's come up a lot this week: acceptance and forgiveness. And forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, and what does it mean to truly forgive? And isn't that part of acceptance? Accepting yourself as you are, accepting others as they are,
Yeah.
and accepting what is. And with that comes forgiveness. And then with forgiveness is just letting go, and letting go of resentment. And I wonder, with this Chiron Mars business, Chiron is the wounded healer. So are we being given a chance to kind of heal old resentments or old anger? This is not just the capacity to get triggered, or to
Yeah.
to have our old wounds come up. This is actually a chance to see, to look at what's coming up, and kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know, do some healing around it. And then, what is anger? Sometimes anger, if it's used constructively, is a sign of self-respect, right? It can show you where your
Mm.
boundaries have been crossed, so it can be used in a helpful way. But that definitely
Yeah.
is the theme of the next few days, is this Mars business. Yeah.
Yeah. A friend of mine said to me today, he said, I've been getting angry, and I'm like the guy who never gets angry, but it feels so great.
Yeah.
And I think as well, it doesn't have to be anger in the, like, it could also be honesty, right? Where
Yeah.
someone's triggered you, and instead of screaming at them with senseless remarks, just telling them the truth just kind of cuts straight through, takes you straight to where you need to go. And I think that's letting go of old stuff, because if the moment you start being honest and being in the truth, it dissolves a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because
And
yeah,
that is what this does bring the potential for, bringing things out into the open that maybe you're usually a bit afraid of doing.
yeah.
So yeah, and that
Wow.
yeah, as you say, it can dissolve. And yeah, and as I said, like, a bit of Mars is a bit of self-respect sometimes as well. It's like, no, this
Yeah.
is my boundary, and I can't, yeah, it's just about having courage, I think. And healthy anger is not a bad thing. What it's Everybody feels angry from time to time, right? It's just what you actually do with that anger. You can be soft and gentle with it at the same time.
Yeah. You trying to find an excuse to be angry here, Amy, and shout at someone.
Yeah, anger isn't exactly my superpower. I'm like, all right, bring it on. Angry.
We'll see a new side to Amy Bird next time. We'll save that for the next episode. And what about the when does this Mercury retrograde end? Is it the 7th of April? Is that right?
Yeah. Mercury retrograde. It goes into Pisces on Saturday. It ends on the 7th of April, and
Right. Yeah.
Venus retrograde ends on the 12th of March. So that's actually quite, sorry, that
12th
was 12th of April.
of April.
12th of April.
Okay.
So they're both kind of ending around the same time. And yeah, it's just a good time to look back. There is wisdom that we can get from the past, and sometimes, as I had with my experience the other day, sometimes maybe we're meant to have that transportation back into the past to understand ourselves somehow, you know, and forgive ourselves.
Yeah,
And
well, we have to do that, right?
yes,
So is
yes.
there anything else that you would like to say about, the astrology that's going on right now that can help people through this period? Because if people are feeling what I've been feeling, it's bumpy, it's awkward, it's new, it's never felt like this before.
Yeah, I would say that it's always important to just ground as much as possible, isn't it? And get into nature as much as we can. And that's always the place that I find, I find God or the divine or whatever. Anyway, it's where I feel the greatest sense of peace and get our feet in the dirt. Because
You know,
and
yeah,
and
you know,
away from the media and yeah, away from all of that and into the trees is my recommendation.
into the trees. You're spot on, Amy, because I've been working quite hard recently doing different projects, and my saving grace every time is just to get out there and to get in the trees by myself, and it's like the trees, they hold space for us, and listen to the birds, because spring's starting. There's this such beauty around the colors, the flowers, the blossoms, the magnolias started to come through where I live, and it's incredible. And it's like you just immediately, everything just feels okay and soft, and any disputes you've had with anyone or any bad feelings suddenly go, it doesn't matter. Like, look at this, look at that tree, listen to those birds, they're beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess
Well,
the other thing would be is just accept that which we cannot control.
yeah. Yep.
Would be my
Yeah,
best.
it's easy to get caught up, isn't it? In this politician did this, or this person's done this, and sometimes I wonder if a revolution, and maybe sometimes they're necessary, absolutely, but sometimes they can create even more problems than if you just be us. If you just be in the moment. You got your own revolution going on now,
Yeah, yeah,
but a quiet, peaceful revolution, as opposed to one that's causing. But I do understand sometimes we have to. The Aries in us needs to come out, and we need to speak up and say our truth, right?
it's like making a standing up for self and others, I suppose, and for what we feel is right. I guess
Yeah.
that's an important part of it all. If people didn't do that, things wouldn't change. But I guess there's different ways to make change. I don't know. Whatever
Wow.
works in that moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Amy Bird, for your amazing wisdom and for making sense of the stars and the planets for us, as you always do in your own beautiful way. So, I wrote a very, very short poem, which I'll finish off with, about Neptune entering Aries, just to take us into this period. Um, the whisper of the ancient tides retreats, a silver shimmer fading in the dawn, as fire licks the edge of the dreamer's sea, and the first wild breath of battle is drawn. Through mist-cloaked veils of drifting time, a sleeping god begins to rise. From Neptune's depth, now kissed by flames, Ares calls, her voice the sky. O restless soul, the wave now burns. The old illusions break apart, and the poet's trance ignites to war and to peace. A vision carved from the warrior's heart, where once the seer wept in blue, now golden embers trace his hands, and in the forge of myth reborn, he shapes the fate of distant lands. The spiral turns, the current shift, the tides of spirit catch the spark, and in the womb of time's great storm, a new world rises from the darkness. So, yeah, what an opportunity! What an amazing time to be alive, to be in this energy, and to feel a time and to be in a space that's never existed before.
Yeah. Well, that room, there was something in there. It just reminded me of the Sabian symbol for the first degree of Aries, which is what Neptune will be going into. And it's something about like a seal, I think, or someone rising up out of the sea, funnily enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks, Amy, and thank you everyone at home for watching this and having the courage to be aware of the energies that are coming. I think it could be a really beautiful time, and it will be different, but that's okay. It's okay. And take Amy's advice and see the opportunities to let go of the old and to let the dreams become a reality, because it's not every month that we can say that. Thank you, Amy. We'll see you next time. We don't quite know when that'll be, but it will definitely be after the eclipse. So let's see where we are, and let's kind of talk about that and what is to come in what's going to be an amazing couple of years. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.